very much. Hello. According to Voltaire, history is filled with the sound of silken slippers going downstairs and wooden shoes coming up. I say, what are you talking about, Voltaire? I think what you've done there is confuse history with the cupboard under the stairs at an Amsterdam brothel. It's an easy mistake to make. But it's a brothel where the men in wooden shoes only go upstairs, by which time all the women in silken slippers have come downstairs. So there's no monkey business going on, which means the Radio 2 censors can relax. No one is having any fun, just how you like it. If anyone understands what Voltaire meant by his stair and shoe analogy, please write to me, courtesy of the BBC. Please mark your envelope. I understand what Voltaire means when he says that history is filled with the sound of slippers and wooden shoes either going down or upstairs. Personally, I don't believe that history has a sound, but if it did, then it would undoubtedly be the hard-rocking cacophony of our house band, Christian Reilly and Stalingrad.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Kick off your wooden shoes and take off your silken slipper, because the real sound of history is a jackboot sliding on a kipper.
You've got that bang on, guys. History is filled with such hubris. You, Christian, are much cleverer than Voltaire.
Well, you're not the first person to say that, Rich.
No, I'm not surprised, really.
So anyway, when we left last week, you were getting a little bit fruity with a 136-year-old woman who used to dance at the Moulin Rouge.
Yeah, nice recap.
Thank you very much. How did the date go?
Well, the date was mainly great. I took her out for pizza. Pizza Express, not Pizza Hut. I'm classy. Thanks. Then it was back to mine. But when I held her in my arms to kiss her, her 136-year-old body crumbled into dust. Like that skeleton at the end of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Bad luck. It was so near, but so far.
No, it was brilliant, actually. One of the most erotically charged experiences of my life. In fact, we're now going out with each other. We're inseparable. She's here, in this jam jar. Hold on, it's empty. Where's my girlfriend gone?
Oh, sorry, Rich. The guys in the band thought that the jam jar full of powder was part of our rider.
You snorted my girlfriend? That is outrageous. And slightly arousing.
Listen, if it's any consolation, she's got us tripping off our nuts.
Yeah, that is some comfort.
That was then, this is now.
Oh, there are peas coming out of my face. This is good stick.
Well, the supposed idea of this show is not that we talk about dusty women and shoes, that we look at what happened this week in history to see if it can help us understand the mad world we live in today. So in order that we at least partially fulfil this remit, here are some jokes.
12th October 1823, Charles Mackintosh of Scotland begins selling raincoats. 13th October 1823, Aberdeen police arrest the first ever flasher.
14th October 1933, the Nazis withdraw from the League of Nations and set up the breakaway Coca-Cola Championship of Nations.
Well, each week on the show that everyone's calling Twttin, I'm joined by my panel of historical experts to help me track down the most important stories of the week. So will you please welcome back my old history teacher from school, Mr. Morgan, and pub quiz champion, Brian O'Green.
Hello, Richard. Nice to be back.
Nice to have you, Brian. Mr. Morgan, how's school?
Well, yes, I'm not currently at the school, Richard.
You lost your job?
Well, no, not lost, exactly. Just taking a short holiday pending the results of an inquiry. Apparently professing love for an ex-pupil while simultaneously declaring your marriage to be a sham live on Radio 2, as I did on the first show of the series, is viewed as a disciplinary matter.
It is a mad and sick world. Yeah. How can they sack a teacher for just fancying his sixth formers? It means he's normal. They should be sacking the blokes who don't fancy the sixth formers. They're the real perverts.
Yes, I'm not sure you're helping my case there, Richard.
So, have you met Brian before? He's a great guy.
No, hello.
I tell you, he's fantastic. Any question, he's brilliant at trivia. Any question, you ask him any question, he'll get it right. Ask him any question.
Oh, right, OK. Just trying to think of one.
Well, it can be, anything you like at all. Anything.
Well, that makes it more difficult in a way to choose.
Well, look, never mind, it was just a...
Oh, no, I've got one now.
Okay,
I've got one.
Yeah.
What year was the Battle of Agincourt?
1415.
Is that right?
Well, I don't know. It's not really my period.
Well, that was fantastic. So what historical events have you guys uncovered in History Corner this week?
Oh, well, this week saw the single most famous event in British history, the Battle of Hastings, which took place in... Richard?
In Hastings?
No, the year.
It was 1066, Mr. Morgan.
Well done, Brian.
Oh, I knew that one. Oh, the Battle of Hastings, eh? I've been to Hastings, and I can tell you, it's not worth fighting over. In fact, I'm surprised that the French and English armies didn't join forces and raze the place to the ground. The only thing worth keeping in Hastings is the Battle of Hastings story experience, which, if you think about it, wouldn't have been there if there hadn't been a battle.
Come on, Richard, that's not fair. Hastings also has the Smuggler's Adventure experience, in which legendary smuggler Hairy Jack takes you on a historical tour de force.
Shut up, Brian, you're not interesting. Of course, the fatal mistake made by Harold at the Battle of Hastings was not to take his mum with him.
King Harold, my liege.
What state the battle?
I fear we shall not be able to repel the advances of William the Conqueror.
I wish you'd stop calling him that. It's like giving him before we've got started, isn't it?
Sorry.
Anyway. My eye! Oh, bugger it!
All right, Harold, calm down.
Mum, leave me alone.
Come on, let me have a look.
I've got an arrow right in my eye.
Stop making such a fuss. Come on, get your hands out the way. I can't see anything. Oh, yes, I can see something now. I think it's an arrow. Come on, you're just going to have to blink it out.
Mum, all the other soldiers are looking.
Never mind them. Come on, make yourself cry, Harold. You'll be right as rain in no time.
It really hurts.
Don't be such a baby. Come on. If you get it to the edge, I'll flick it out with this hanky. There you go.
Oh, thanks, Mum.
Go on, get back in there. Be careful and fight nicely. Oh, remember, you've got the advantage of the hill. Whatever you do, don't let your men get overexcited and chase the Normans down into the valley, or they'll execute a pincer movement and decimate you.
Yeah, Mum, all right. I know. Yes, but unfortunately for Harold, his mum wasn't there for eye/arrow management or tactical advice, and so the French managed their one and only non-football related victory over us. And all over England that night, the same scene was repeated in every tavern.
All right, Tony, where you been?
Well, I've been up at Hastings watching a battle. Oh, it was cracking. You'll never believe what happened.
Oh, don't tell me who won. I'm waiting for the tapestry.
There's a school of thought that believes that William only invaded England to get a new nickname. He'd previously been known as William the Bastard, so he had very little to lose. He knew he'd either become William the Conqueror or William the Rubbish at Fighting, both preferable to the bastard thing he'd found himself saddled with.
Well, of course, there was a danger that he'd just become William the Conquering Bastard.
Now it's over to TV's Emma Kennedy for this week's births, deaths and marriages.
It's time to find out who got wet, bread, or dead with TV's Emma Kennedy.
Hello, I'm TV's Emma Kennedy. You know me. I used to be the older woman in those Heat adverts, but I'm not on them anymore. They've got someone else. She's not as good. But we're not here to talk about me. You want to know news on all things natal, fatal, and affiliatal. So which historical figure will be getting the bumps this week? Evil witch Margaret Thatcher and funny man Lenny Bruce were born this week on exactly the same day, the 13th October 1925, which surely proves once and for all that astrology is rubbish. Although, having said that, they did both enjoy saying things in public that were offensive to all right-thinking people, so maybe there's something in it after all. Spooky. Brrr! But on a note so sad that even hard man Roy Keane is in tears, let's say goodbye to those who no longer walk amongst us. Chico Marx died on the 11th of October 1961. He was the fourth most famous Marx brother after Groucho, Carl and Skid. But try those those tears, Roy Keane, and crack open the confetti, because the 11th of October 1975 saw Liz Taylor's 6th wedding when she married Richard Burton for the second time. The law of averages says that at some point in our lives we will all be married to Elizabeth Taylor.
Hold on, Emma Kennedy.
What now, Herring?
At some point we'll all be married to Elizabeth Taylor.
Yes.
Are you seriously suggesting that everyone in the world will one day marry the film star Elizabeth Taylor?
Yes, I am.
Because, you know, there are approximately 6.2 billion people on this planet.
Yes.
The last time I counted, Elizabeth Taylor has only been married to 7 of them.
I stand by what I said.
That leaves 6,199,999,993 people she has left to marry.
Yeah, that's right. Your point is...
She's 72, so assuming she lives for another 18 years, which is a big assumption, I would say, she would have to marry over 34 million people a year, or 94,368 people a day. Remembering she'd only be able to marry one at a time,
Yeah,
so she'd
you're
have
right
to divorce
about that.
each one before she could marry again.
Yes.
Well, all I'm saying, it would be an exhausting 18-year period. I'm not sure she'd be up to it.
Well, we'll have to wait and see who is proven correct.
Get out of here, you mawkish hoyden!
Stop calling me mawkish!
That you are mawkish!
I'm not mawkish!
You are. If you'd lived in biblical times, the New Testament would have been written by Matthew, Mark, Luke and John. Yeah, Mark.
There's no disciple called Mark.
There would have been if you'd been there.
I hate you, Richard Keith.
That was then, this is now. History is more or less funk.
So, Brian, what stories caught your historical eye?
Well, Richard, on the 15th of October 1815, Napoleon started his exile on St. Helena.
Wow, what a come-down for the celebrated brandy-guzzling dwarf. Going from ruling the whole of Europe to being stuck on a tiny, windswept island.
At last, a little bit of time alone. What with being the Emperor of France and starting the Battle of Waterloo, sometimes it feels like I don't get a moment to myself. I'll just put my towel down here.
Mr. Bonaparte.
Cooey! Napoleon!
Oh, I don't believe this.
Sorry to bother you. It's just my wife's a big fan of yours. She's followed all your military campaigns.
Look, I don't want to be rude, but I'm in exile here. I was just hoping to get away from it all for a bit.
Oh, we're on exile too.
Yeah, we got a last-minute budget exile.
Yeah, we really want to be exiled in Tenerife. Have you seen how much it is to be exiled there?
Yeah. But how much did your exile cost?
The British government paid for it.
Oh, I told you we
no.
should have waited.
Look, if you don't mind, I've been very busy with losing the Battle of Waterloo, and I just want to relax on the beach and just read the latest Victor Hugo.
Oh, don't be like that. Come on, we'll just have a quick picture painted with you. It'll only take 8 to 10 hours. Yeah. Go on, you stand next to my husband. I know. Let's all do that thing you do when we stick one hand in your coat. It'll be ever so funny.
Look, leave me alone. I'm not having my picture done with you imbecile.
Ooh, get in.
Look, I've had it with you people. Yeah. This is like Elba all over again. Did I lose the Battle of Waterloo for nothing? I'm off.
You forgot your towel.
Wasn't he short?
Yeah, very short.
Now it's time to find out what was the worst invention in history this week with Mr. Morgan.
It's the worst invention of the week with Mr. Morgan.
So, Mr. Morgan, what was the worst invention of the week?
Well, Richard, the worst invention of the week, I think, has to be the frosted light bulb, which was patented this week in 1928 by a Marvin Pipkin. It just seems to me that the great bulk of the work on the light bulb was actually done by Thomas Edison, and for Marvin Pipkin just to come along and say he's invented something new by frosting it just seems a bit ridiculous. Really.
Oh, come off it. Frosting is a fantastic thing to do. It's a wonderful process.
Yes, but all you're doing is taking Edison's light bulb and making the glass less clear by frosting it, thus obscuring the light with frost.
Yeah, frost's good, though. Next time you'll be telling me Frosties are just the same as cornflakes.
Well, they are.
They're not. They're a completely different thing. They're much better.
No, you see, frosting something, whether it be a light bulb or a cornflake, it's not an invention, is it, Richard? It's an unnecessary variation that actually diminishes the value of the original.
Like Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
Yes. Probably.
No, I'm sorry. You can't. I think frosted light bulbs are great. You can't have that as the worst invention of the week. The frosting made the light bulb what it is today. An unfrosted light bulb creates no ambience. And I love ambience. As any lady who comes round to my place for a romantic bowl of sugary Tiger-endorsed cereal will find out.
All right, here we go. How about the cheeseburger invented in 1934? Now, that really is a rubbish invention. That is simply some meat, and some cheese. Now, I simply can't believe it took until 1934 for someone to come up with that one.
Well, that's what people said after they split the atom. It's all very easy with hindsight. The cheeseburger was a great invention. You can't have that. It's fantastic.
All right. The billiard ball, painted in 1865. That's just a different type of ball.
No, you're wrong. They're all great inventions. Can you imagine a world where the joys of playing billiards whilst eating a cheeseburger under the soft glow of a frosted light bulb are denied to us? It's certainly not a world I want to live in, Mr. Morgan. It's a world that you and Osama bin Laden want us to have. Not me. And, now a song from our house band, like house wine, in that we could have something better, but we went for the cheapest option. It's Christian Reilly and Stalingrad.
Yes, don't get chippy, Herring. There's 4 of us here. Anyway, this week in 1994 saw the passing of Matsuo Basho, who's the greatest Japanese haiku poet. The haiku is a 3-line poem with 5 syllables in the first line, 7 syllables in the second line, and 5 in the last. Playful 17th century Japanese aristocrats used the poems in question and answer fashion as a means of witty discourse. For example, one aristocrat could say the following poem: "The horse grazing on the bank seems to me grey in colour." And then another could answer, "I think it's otherwise, for its reflection in the paddy says chestnut brown." Comedy gold, ladies and gentlemen. Comedy gold. Anyway, this is the story of Matsuo Basho, who made epic journeys all over Japan, and then he got sick with dysentery. Parts of the song are in haiku, so look out for that.
Matsuo Basho was out walking one day when several of his admirers came up to give him praise. He was feeling ill from his dysentery and he didn't stand on ceremony. He said, "I'm sorry, I've got a case of the raving trots. Please leave me alone." And the crowd that gathered praised him and raised him high in the air. They said, "That's the greatest haiku ever composed right there." Yeah, note how he opens with short, emotionally charged words. Or breaking words, as we call them here in Japan. The poet tried again in vain to get through to his fans. He said, "No, please put me down. I'm not doing poetry now. I need the toilet." Pure Basho, they said. Yes, it's witty, but with a melancholic edge. Yes, the man surely is blessed with genius. Can you smell something? And unaware of what he was doing, Matsuo continued haiku-ing. He said, "Yes, you fools, it's me. I honestly am quite sick. Find some bushes quick." It's another triumph, they rapturously roared. Yes, the emotive references to nature are very typical of the form. But curiously, no reference to the season in the opening stanza, which is often customary, as we all know here in Japan, the birthplace of this fine lyrical style. The great man could bear no more. He was tired of being ignored. He said, "I tried to warn you. You would not listen to me. I can't hold it." "Odd," said one of the throng. "I feel there's something wrong. That last line should have 5 syllables, but I only counted 4. And the last syllable was the sound of Matsuo Basho colliding with the floor.
Christian Reilly and Stalingrad. That was really good, Christian. You should have tried out for X Factor. You did quite well. You got down to the last 50 easily. Mr. Morgan, anything more for us?
Yes. The 12th of October 1967 saw the publication of Desmond Morris's The Naked Ape.
Oh, my mum and dad used to have that. It is a brilliant book.
Well, have you read it?
No one's read it. It just had that brilliant cover, didn't it? With a naked woman showing her bum on it. I spent most of my childhood looking at that. Made me feel a bit funny in my tummy, you know. I always kept opening the book, hoping that the inside cover would show the front view. But it never did. Not yet. But one day.
It also had a naked man showing his bum, Richard.
I know, but I didn't look at that because it made me feel even more funny in my tummy. Not as good as The Female Eunuch, though. That is a brilliant book as well. The cover of that's just a torso of a woman. No limbs, no head. Just the good bits. Germaine Greer, she really knew how to get blokes going.
Conspiracy Theory Corner. And now, the regular strand of the show, I'm calling... Conspiracy Theory Corner.
It's not a regular strand. I let you do it last week against my better judgment, something I still regret.
Can't you handle the truth, Richard? Afraid it will be too shocking?
No, I'm afraid it'll be too rubbish.
Richard, this is important. I've uncovered a sinister historical conspiracy, not unlike in The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown.
God, let me guess. JFK, the Mafia and some aliens were responsible for the death of John Lennon.
Don't be ridiculous, Herring. Everyone knows John Lennon was killed by the Bee Gees. No, this is something far more sinister. 16th of October, 1847. Charlotte Bronte publishes Jane Eyre. 13th October 1963, the Beatles play the London Palladium. 11th October 1985, Orson Welles dies. Now, Richard, if you rearrange the letters of Jane Eyre, it spells Yen Jia, a clear insult to the Japanese. The Beatles, secretly Japanese agents, I mean, why else do you think John Lennon went out with Yoko Ono? They planned to destroy all copies of Jane Eyre. They released their first single, Love Me Do, an anagram of Vole Dome. Yeah, the Beatles were secretly breeding voles in a massive dome in the Nevada desert, planning to release the animals into bookshops across the world to eat every copy of Jane Eyre in existence. Orson Welles found out about the Beatles' plan and they assassinated him.
Orson Welles died of a heart attack. He was 70.
Ha, you fool. He was killed by a trained ninja vole, released by none other than Ringo himself. Incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, it is literally incredible. Anyway, Orson Welles died over 20 years after they released that single.
Richard, have you ever tried to train a vole?
No.
It takes time.
So, if this is true, which it isn't, how come all the voles didn't eat Jane Eyre then?
McCartney bottled it.
Brian, you make David Icke look sane and rational.
Flatterer.
That was then, this is now. Traveling back in time like Michael J. Fox and fancying our mums.
Time for one more historical story, Mr. Morgan, I think.
The 14th of October, 1586, saw Mary, Queen of Scots, put on trial for conspiracy against Elizabeth I. And, funny enough, some friends of me and my wife, Hilary... Oh, hello, Hilary, if you are listening. Please do return my calls. I know you want me to only communicate through my lawyer.
Mr. Morgan, there really isn't time for this,
okay.
I'm sorry.
Just please ring. Anyway, we met a couple, Tony and Brenda Williams, who are heavily involved in their local historical reenactment society, specialising in the imprisonment of Mary, Queen of Scots. So please welcome Tony and Brenda Williams.
Hello, Tony. Hello, Brenda.
All right, Richard. All right, Neil.
Hello.
Yeah, can we just correct you on one thing, Neil? You've got Queen Mary's name wrong. It's Queen Mary, Queen of Scotch.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I don't think it is.
No, it is. No, it's Queen Mary, Queen of Scotch. A lot of people get that wrong.
So you specialise in recreating the imprisonment of that particular queen?
Yep. We recreate everything in exact historical detail, from the actual verifiable events of her captivity right down to the actual clothing worn at the time.
Well, presumably Brenda plays the part of Mary, so who are you?
I portray her prison guard, Whitlow Fife Donald.
So, well, it's quite a get-up you've got there. Can you describe what you're wearing for the listeners?
Yep, I'm wearing a leather jerkin, no sleeves, a studded leather wristbands, a leather belt, studded, and leather boots, a leather cap, and also an optional leather mask.
Sorry, a mask?
Yep. Used on occasions when the jailer, Whitlow Fife Donald, wanted to intimidate the Scotch Queen. It's all accurate, faithfully rendered, exactly what he wore.
OK, well, moving on to Brenda. Take us through your costume.
Well, I am Queen Mary, Queen of Scotch, and I'm wearing a baby doll nurse's outfit.
A baby doll nurse's outfit?
Yes, it's accurate down to the last detail.
It seems to be made out of PVC.
That's right, white, clean. Tony researched it.
I did research it thoroughly.
I'm no expert, but didn't Mary wear a sort of long black dress made out of hemp, tied at the waist by a pauper's rope, and on her head a simple white wimple?
No. Not whilst in prison, no.
Yeah, that's right, because in prison, Queen Mary, Queen of Scots, wore a baby doll nurse's outfit. I mean, sometimes she wore a school uniform, and sometimes she wore a bikini that had slits.
I have researched this thoroughly, you know. Historical accuracy is paramount.
I'm going to go out on a limb here, but my guess is that Tony has been lying to you about this, Brenda.
Oh, no, not again, Tony Williams. Wait till I get you home.
I'm sorry, Brenda. Will you punish me?
No, I won't punish you anymore, no.
So, did you know that your friends were historical swingers, Mr. Morgan?
Absolutely not, no. And I just want to say to the school governors, if they're listening, that I had no idea that Mr. and Mrs. Williams had these kind of interests. Oh, my career's over.
They're your friends. Well, that's all we've got time for this week. I think we've learned that if history teaches us one thing, then we've probably failed our history A-level. That is, unless we took our A-levels after 1999, in which case, if history teaches us one thing, we'll get an A-star. That was then, this is now. Good afternoon.
That was Then, This Is Now was written by and starred Richard Herring, Emma Kennedy, Danny Robbins, Dan Tetsell, Christian Reilly and Stalingrad, who were Damien Caldwell, Charlie Round-Turner and Martin Kane, with additional material by Mark Dady, Toby Davis, Chris Pell, Richard Ward, Colin Birch and Nice Mum. The broadcast assistant was Trudy Stevens and the producer was Liz Anstey. That was Then, This Is Now is a Cellador production for BBC Radio 2.